Nigerians found themselves on different pages as the technology regulatory body in the country, NIDDA, released a draft code of practice to guide the use of social media and other forms of communication in the country. The draft is regarded by some as another attempt to gag free speech following failed attempts in the past. NIDDA, however, says the back and forth with Twitter and other platforms is responsible for the recent code.
The major reason why we came up with this code of practice is to ensure that the online space is adequately safe for users, and also to ensure that freedom of expression is matched with the legitimate use and responsible use of these spaces online.
There are gaps, and what we need are not necessarily regulations and codes of practices that come into, like cement to patch up cracks, but full-on legislation. Full-on legislation that address these issues, full-on legislation that have the buy-in of the people based on democratic instances.
To comply with the code, NIDDA says all interactive computer service platforms or internet intermediaries operating in Nigeria must meet certain criteria around registration, taxation, and managing prohibited publication, amongst others, in line with Nigerian law. But some content of the draft code doesn't sit well with some Nigerians. Same for NIDDA's constitutional powers to oversee some communication platforms.
There are diasporas in the US using Paystack or Flutterwave. They tell you that, because there are people there, then come and register Flutterwave and establish physical presence in the US. How practicable, you understand? So in terms of reciprocity, if we start to go through this route, then the tendency for a reciprocal action from other countries may impact negatively on the startup community in Nigeria.
There's some kind of a regulatory overreach here from NIDDA as far as the reading of the draft of the current code of practice is concerned. And potentially they are setting themselves up for some kind of a daggers drawn bureaucratic fight with their sister agency, which is the NBC, which is under a different ministry, a Ministry of Information and Culture, and not NIDDA, that is under the Ministry of Communication and Technology.
However, NIDDA insists it has the constitutional backing to draft such a code.
The fact that this does not come from the National Assembly does not mean it is ineffective. By the Interpretation Act and by our law in Section 6, we have the capacity to develop subsidiary legislation, and that's exactly what we're doing.
NIDDA says it created the code in collaboration with the NCC, the NBC, and contributions from tech giants Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Google, and TikTok, and urges stakeholders to send their reservations and contributions to info@nidda.gov.ng to shape the final outcome for what will be an acceptable guideline for the country. Victor Matthias, Channels Television News.